Good morning, all. So I'll start this talk by telling you all about my first love. It was one beautiful day. She was walking towards me. She walked towards me, stood next to me, looked me in my eye, then she walked past me. After that, she was gone forever. The moment lasted for 15 to 20 seconds, but it was enough for me to fall in love with her. In those few seconds, I managed to click 3 to 4 photographs of her without her knowledge. And I still look at those photographs as I miss her. When she was barely 2 meters away, she was looking in my eye. Her gaze penetrated my soul, my heart skipped a beat. I could have touched her, I wanted to touch her, but I was afraid of the consequences, so I kept my hands to myself. Before any judgments arise, let me introduce you to her. Her name is Noori. Noori is a tigress from Ranthambore National Park. My name is Krishay Goyal. I'm a wildlife photographer and a high school student from Nirja Modi School. And today, I'll take this opportunity to talk about my journey through wildlife photography. When I look back, my journey looks like a butterfly effect. For those of you who don't know, butterfly effect is when one small change in a system can cause a big change in another. An analogy of the butterfly effect could be a butterfly flapping its wing, causing a tornado. An analogy could be me standing over here, causing World War III out there. So my journey is a butterfly effect because I became a wildlife photographer and a student who's pursuing science because one day I saw a pigeon change its direction while flying. Many must have started thinking, I saw the pigeon change its direction, I got fascinated by it, I picked up a camera, I started photographing it, and I became a wildlife photographer. But it was nothing like that. So let me take you back to my house's balcony where it all started. I was flying kite on the festival of Makar Sankranti, the harvest festival of India where we all come together and fly kites to celebrate the annual harvest. I was flying my kite unaware of the dark side of Makar Sankranti. We use a thread called manja, which is a sharp thread which can cut through fingers and which could be fatal as well. I was flying my kite. Suddenly I looked towards my right. I saw a pigeon change its direction while flying. The change in the direction caused the pigeon to get entangled in manja. The pigeon's wing got cut and the pigeon fell in my driveway. Its wing was drooping. I was devastated. I left my kite and ran to save the pigeon. I tried saving it. I put it in a box. I googled up some NGOs. A name popped up. I rushed the pigeon to that NGO. When I reached the NGO, I thought I'd save the pigeon. I'm done with it. I can go back home. But at the NGO, I realized that the problem is much bigger. I saw more than 500 birds with their wings cut. I saw a team of 20 vets performing surgeries at 20 different tables at once. I saw a team of 50 volunteers running from one corner of the city to another just to save lives. I saw a team of rehabilitators trying to rehabilitate the operated birds. I was really surprised by these scenes. I came back home, I was filled with guilt because I was a child who's been flying kites since the age of 7 or 8, like every other child in India. And I thought, the problem is so big, we are not addressing it. I need to do something about it. I told my mother that I'm going to stop kite flying. She was very supportive. She told me that if you're not flying kites, nobody in our house will. We stopped kite flying. I convinced some of my relatives. I convinced some of my friends. But unfortunately, I was unsuccessful in doing that. After that, I thought that I have to do something more. I was really unsatisfied. So I enrolled myself as a volunteer with the same organization. When I enrolled myself as a volunteer in the same organization, I started rescuing animals. I started working with orphaned animals. I started rehabilitating animals. I learned about medicine. I shadowed vets. It was an emotional journey to work with animals, to treat animals, to help vets treat animals. It was an emotional journey because I had to encounter a number of deaths. But I was happy at the end of the day if I could even save just one life. I was really happy with it. So the journey changed me. It taught me a lot of things. And one important thing it taught me about myself was that I'm a person who loves wildlife. So I started going on treks. I started going on bird watching trips, on herping trips with wildlife enthusiasts. I remember recording more than 100 birds in one single day. I remember seeing my first leopard in Jalana Reserve Forest. I remember seeing snakes on a herping trip. But all this while, I missed out on one thing. The one thing was I did not get the chance to document or photograph these animals. So I decided I'll approach my father, I'll ask him for a camera. I was very nervous. Although he's been very supportive, but still I was nervous. So I approached him, I asked him, I told him that I'm really very interested. Please, I need a camera. Can you please get me a camera? I want to start wildlife photography. Gladly, Abba maan gaye, and I got my first camera at the age of 15. After that, there was no going back. I remember as a child, I used to watch documentaries on TV, and I felt like I'm watching clips shot on an alien planet, because all of it felt so distant. But when I got hold of my first camera, I could photograph wild, I could observe it up close. But one thing I want to mention is, it all didn't start well. After 1 or 2 months of getting my first camera, I wanted to return it. I wanted to tell my father, let's just sell this camera. I was wrong. Wildlife photography is something that is not for me, because I wasn't getting the results. I wasn't getting good photographs. I was not able to find my subjects. I wasn't able to track animals. So I thought that I'll just sell this camera. But I decided I cannot give up so early. I'll give it one last shot. I created a checklist of things. First, I wrote that I'm lacking knowledge about animal behavior. That is why I'm unable to track animals. Second thing I wrote, I was not quick enough with my settings, so I miss out on action. So I have to fix these two things. I started going more so that I learn more about animal behavior. The second thing I did was I started practicing on common objects at my house with my camera. I tried getting my camera settings right within 3 seconds, because that is all the time you get in the wild. I became faster. After 2-3 months, I came at a stage where I had mastered the skills of setting up my camera in just 2 or 3 seconds. I had mastered the skill of tracking the animals. I went back in the forest. I thought, now is the time. Now is my time. Now I'll go in. I'll get the photos I wanted, because now I know how to find the animals. Now I know how to operate the camera. I went in. One day I saw a leopard again. The leopard was walking past me. I tracked it successfully. I was very happy with it. I got my camera setting right. Within 2 seconds, I took 10-15 photographs. I came back home. I was very satisfied. I thought, finally, this is the moment. I reviewed the photos, and all of the photographs were blurred. I was shocked. What happened? Where did I go wrong? I took myself back to that moment, and I realized that while photographing the leopard, my hands were trembling out of excitement. I got everything right, except I forgot to get my mind right. I threw the checklist away, and I realized that wildlife photography is an unending lesson and an unending journey. So I cannot reduce the goals to a checklist. I just need to go more. I just need to experience more. I just need to photograph more, and that is how I'll become a wildlife photographer. I cannot just make goals and just cross them off the list. I need a lot of things to become a good wildlife photographer. Finally, after 5 to 6 months, I started getting the photographs I wanted. After going more regularly, after practicing more, I got the results I'd always wanted. I remember sleeping on the floor of a rest house in the center of Jim Corbett National Park in 40 degrees Celsius without a camera. I was cursing myself for coming to the forest. I thought, why did I even come here? I'm so stupid. But it was all worth it when I saw this elephant sunbathing the next morning. I remember getting drenched either because of rain or either because of sweat, because I used to go in the month of April or May, because that is the time when the big cat sightings are highest. So when I used to get my results, I used to feel that, okay, every moment is worth it. It's not just, I have to go through harsh conditions, but it is all worth it. I talked about getting drenched. There was one time I entered the lake in search of a photograph of this pelican. I was really very scared. Because I had a camera in my hand. The water was still up here. The camera was here. And I got this photograph. I came back home. I was very happy. And I was very happy that I saved my camera. And this is something I'd not recommend you guys to do if you start photography. I started getting the results. I was really very happy with my wildlife photography. I thought that it has a lot to offer me. I learned a lot. Wildlife photography made me more patient. It made me more calmer. It made me resilient. So I was very happy with the journey. And I thought that I'm learning all the things, but I had a question in my mind. am I driven by the appreciation I'm getting from people? People started appreciating my photographs. It got displayed in exhibitions. But soon I convinced myself that no, this cannot be driven by appreciation or recognition because firstly, wildlife photography is something that not everybody understands. I remember I used to tell people that I'm a wildlife photographer and they used to tell me, oh, we have a zoo near our house. Why don't you go to the zoo and you'll see all kinds of animals over there. They don't understand the essence of wild. And secondly, I think there are a number of passions I could have followed. And after the failure of 6 months, I still wanted to continue. I still planned to continue because I was only driven by one thing, my love for the wild. Wildlife offered me a lot of things. It taught me a lot of things. I could experience emotions in the wild. I could experience anger, curiosity. I experienced love in its purest of forms, maternal love. Wildlife photography was filled with lessons. I got the chance to observe stories. I got the chance to create stories. Like this one photograph of a tiger, it's not even looking in the camera, it's looking at the track. But it is really very close to my heart because it has a story behind it. The tiger has settled down, but it is still looking at its path and realizing I still have a long way to go ahead. I've taken a break, but the journey has not ended. This reminds me of Robert Frost's lines. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, and I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. I started creating stories. I used elements like safari jeeps, like trees, and water to create more and more stories. Like this is one picture I captioned by saying that not even a tiger can escape the paparazzi because a procession of jeeps were following it. Wildlife photography always surprised me, like this sloth bear decided to surprise me one day. It was full of surprises. I thought I've learned a lot. It has taught me a lot, but there was one important thing left. Wildlife photography changed my interests. When I used to observe wild through my viewfinder, I used to observe animal behavior. Animal behavior made me question things like why are humans different from each other? Why are animals different from each other? Why are we different from animals? In the pursuit of these answers, I started looking in my textbook, I started reading articles, and I became a student who was immensely fascinated by science. Science answered all these questions at macro and micromolecular levels. I could find the answers. I was very fascinated by science. I dwelled deeper. The complexity of the forest fascinated me, not its simplicity. Forest is one of the most complex systems I have encountered because it has life, just like us humans. I started writing research papers. I started interning under professors. I enrolled myself in an internship with laboratories because science fascinated me a lot. I became a student who wanted to pursue science ahead. By the end of the 10th grade, I was sure that science is something that is for me, and I want to pursue science in college as well. When I look back, all of it looks like the butterfly effect at play. A pigeon decided to change its direction while flying one day, and today I'm a wildlife photographer and a student who's pursuing science. Concluding my talk, I just like to say that I hope I continue with this passion. After 10 years, I come back to the stage and say that I have been doing wildlife photography since the age of 15. I can say it now as well, but saying it at the age of 17 doesn't carry the same weight, so I have to wait a little. Thank you. That was all from my side.